What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So to end Friday's final OTA, Aaron Rodgers had a press conference. He called out a number of people. I find it fascinating that three of these guys specifically that he decided to call out are undrafted free agents. Two from this year, one from the year prior. And this is big to me because a lot of the noise that was made prior to us officially getting Aaron Rodgers in the building was from a personality standpoint. Can he handle the media? To me, one of the big concerns is how will his personality mesh in the locker room? And then kind of the 1B to that issue is he's notoriously hard on his wide receivers, and we haven't heard even an inkling of him laying into his team. So I think that speaks to this revitalization of him feeling like he's playing some of the best football of his career. Maybe that he's 8 to 10 years younger once again. Most of that's going to be a mentality standpoint, but again, it speaks volumes to me that these guys specifically are rookies because of the fact that Aaron Rodgers, he knows what he's looking for. He doesn't really have time for, BS and having to necessarily coach people up, but he's fully dived into this realm of being a player coach on the field. And so it was really cool to hear some of the things that he mentioned as far as the three guys that he spoke about and decided to call out without being provoked by the media were Xavier Gipson, Jason Brownlee. These are both guys that we picked up in undrafted free agency this year. And then Irvin Charles, who hung out on the roster for us last year. And, all three of these guys have been hyped up at some point this offseason. Irvin Charles was one of the first names that we heard about that had some fans in the building. They thought that he would gain some momentum over the course of OTAs, which obviously he has. Aaron Rodgers cited Irvin Charles' hard work and seeing that being put out on the field. And I think this was maybe during Thursday's practice. But for the other two guys, Xavier Gipson, Jason Brownlee, two very different people. Xavier Gipson, smaller, shiftier guy, but he completely went out and dominated his division prior to coming to the Jets. Jason Brownlee is a guy that a lot of people liken to a Denzel Mims, more so from a playing style standpoint than from an athletic standpoint. Again, keep in mind, Denzel Mims is one of those true freaks out there in the NFL world, but they look at Jason Brownlee as potentially a direct replacement to a guy like Denzel Mims, and it doesn't help that although Denzel Mims was out for personal matters the last couple of days, still he was out. Jason Brownlee's been able to make some noise, so people are going to connect the dots that the New York Jets, according to the rumors, are unhappy with Denzel Mims. Jason Brownlee's coming in. He's being productive right away, obviously shorts and shirts, but done enough to be recognized by Aaron Rodgers. And so I couldn't be happier. Keep in mind, Jason Brownlee was a guy that, one of his most recent highlights, true highlights out there, was the one-handed catch from Zach Wilson. I believe that was for a touchdown in red zone drills. But he got a $246,000 guarantee to come to the New York Jets. That ended up being the fourth highest guarantee to an undrafted free agent this offseason. And then again, we're going to hear a lot about if Jason Brownlee continues to go out there and shine during training camp when we actually get the shells, the pads on. You're going to hear a lot of noise about him potentially being cut or released. Denzel Mims being cut very early or released early on, looking for trade options, etc. And then the question becomes, do we actually have one or two spots potentially up for grabs? Because it's normally the New York Jets are expected to have maybe a few different undrafted free agents make the roster. This season ultimately can end up being no different. But for the first time in a long time, it really does feel like a lot of these guys that we're seeing get hyped up in OTAs, potentially in training camp, are going to ultimately end up on practice squad anyways, assuming other teams aren't tapped in and hearing a lot of this noise, especially with the New York Jets being one of the more focused teams in the NFL this season with Aaron Rodgers on the roster, potentially ending up on Hard Knocks. So it'll be interesting to see how we try to go about playing some of this. Corey Davis is a guy that I don't know what it would take, but ideally, I don't think he would get a second contract from us. He's playing on his final year. We can cut him at any point, save $10.5 million. And then again, Denzel Mims is a guy apparently that we're unhappy with. So we could go from 1 to 2 roster spots. You're still talking about a team that has Garrett Wilson, Mecole Hardman, Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard on there. 4 solid wide receivers in a group. So you're not talking about missing a whole lot, although for the sake of this argument, when it comes to Corey Davis, let's just keep in mind we brought him on. We thought maybe he can give us number 1 production. That didn't turn out to be the case. He's a strong number 2 option. That doesn't have to be a number 2 option on this roster. So you have to weigh, how much of a backup plan do you want in your weapon group, right? You can't just go out there and say, just because these rookies have been productive early on, that they'll go out there and decimate over the course of the full season. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner themselves have talked about the rigors of handling their full first NFL season. So it'll be interesting to me to see how we decide to go about this, because I can see a world where maybe Irvin Charles gets a little bit more seasoning for 1 more year on the practice squad, and they go with the group of Xavier Gipson and Jason Brownlee, who Xavier Gipson could probably win on the outside as well, but that gives you a backup slot option, maybe pure slot option, depending on how you want to view him. Again, he's only 5'9", but gives you an immediate backup option to Randall Cobb and Mecole Hardman, who will probably play a lot more slot this season. And then with Jason Brownlee, you get a guy out there on the boundary that you know can win, and maybe you develop packages specifically in the red zone for him. Maybe you develop packages to go out there and just move the chains. We got to see what he'll fully be able to go out there and do in year 1. He's not a guy that's going to blow your mind from an athletic standpoint once again, but I'm excited. This is looking like a fully stacked roster, and we are still talking about adding pieces, as we've mentioned. Dalvin Cook, Mike Evans rumors are still floating out there. I've seen the Austin Eckler connection, so we'll see what happens in the tight end room. Is going to be a very interesting offseason, one that once we finally pare down to the 53-man roster, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of arguments, a lot of things to point to about why certain players should have made the team again. So I'm very hyped for that. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Xavier Gipson, Irvin Charles, Jason Brownlee, specifically pointed out by Aaron Rodgers as having a pretty strong OTA to cap things off before we come back for training camp. And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.